Good evening, good evening, and welcome to the 17th episode of Danielle Speaks. I am so glad that you all are with us on this evening. I am very much so excited because we have been dealing with some very important topics the last couple of um, sessions, should I say, last couple of podcasts with the trauma series. And we are wrapping up tonight. Tonight, it will be the wrap up of the trauma series. And we're going to be discussing sexual abuse, the man who leads me, and overcoming. And so, grab a hold to your seats. I want you to share this podcast on tonight. I think the things that we're going to touch on is going to be really important. It's going to help with some healing of some hurts and some pains. It's going to talk about overcoming, so triumphing over all of the things that we talked about, the process of triumphing, and really getting into why we do the things we do, how we're to overcome the process of it. How do we share our lives with other people that can take them to the next level? So I am so glad again that you all are joining with us again. Share, like this video, and we're going to truck on. I do apologize because we were supposed to be on the entire month of April. However, sometime during this month, we did have death in the family. So some other things happened to where we could not come on, but we are here. Thank you for those that did know about the deaths in the family that extended your prayers and sincere condolences. We definitely do appreciate that. Our family is doing well. We are strong. And again, we are here. So let's go. Let's move. We're going to bring with me tonight my friend, my family, the one and only Shawn Felder. She is going to assist in facilitating this talk with us tonight because, again, it's about healing, and the overcoming process is what we're really wanting to deal with, that healing aspect, the victorious aspect of everything. Hey, Brenda Willis, how are you? So we want to go ahead and we want to push through and move on with this. So hey, I was about to call you by your nickname. Hey, Shawn, how are you?
Hello. I am well. Good evening, everybody. Good evening, depending on where you. Nope, it's evening no matter where you are. I was about to say good afternoon, but it's evening no matter where you are watching from. So, hello, everybody. Hello, my friend. We are
Yes,
here.
hello. We are here.
We are
We are here.
here.
We are here at this point and at this part. We are here. And I wanna do some recapping just a little bit of
Sure.
what we did the last time that we were together, and we were talking about um rejections and some church hurt and things of that nature. So I want you to do a little bit of recapping. Hey Journey, hey Dreek, how are you? Glad to see you guys. Journey say hey y'all.
Hey, y'all.
Just as country. Hey sweetie. So wanting to do a little bit of recapping of some things, and like bringing everybody up to speed in what
Sure.
we've been talking about. So if you want to do that for me, that'll be great. I know I
Absolutely.
threw I threw you on the spot with that one, but
It's
that's
okay.
I know. That's
Stay
why I
ready.
did
Don't
it.
have to get ready. You know
Don't
how
stay
that goes.
ready. Don't have to get ready. I love it. I love it. Go ready.
So,
Go.
what we did, first, let me start off by saying the same thing that I said in the last podcast. Anything that's discussed today, we are not psychologists, psychiatrists, or degreed people when it comes to the area, but we have experienced some pains. We have sat on a few couches. We've worked through some few issues, and we just want to
Right.
share those experiences. So we're not necessarily giving you advice. We're sharing experiences, and if you can pull something out of our experiences, then let our pain be your lesson. So you don't have to go through it and knowing that you're not going through it alone.
Absolutely.
Thing number two. Can you see it? I did it right this time.
You did it right this
We
time.
got our book. We got
Yay!
our journal that you
Right.
can write in. I would show you what's in
Absolutely.
my journal, but that's none of your business.
That's
Amen. Amen.
not me. Amen.
And more
I
importantly,
have mine
we
too.
have the book. And last week, no, last time, because it wasn't last week, it's been a few
Yeah,
weeks
it was
since I've
recent.
last
Yeah.
been on. We
Right.
covered chapter 2, which was the pain of rejection. And
Mhm.
we started out talking about the rejection, where it first started, the source of where this rejection started to build. Danielle as a child and those childhood traumas that sort of carved the path that she would eventually have to take. in
Right.
order to become the woman that she is. So it started with the childhood trauma. We did the irreversible act where there was a betrayal of sorts. If you have not read the book, read the book. I'm not going to tell you everything that happened the last time, but there was a betrayal. There were a couple of
A
betrayals
couple of, I was
actually.
about to say it was a couple of
Yeah, there was the
them.
best friend betrayal, and then there
Hmm.
was the pastor's wife betrayal,
Right, right.
and even the reaction from family members once the news was let out. And then we talked about the world of church hurt. Um, and we agreed in that last segment that people tend to say the church didn't hurt you, people hurt you. Well, guess what? People represent the church, so it
Come on.
feels like the church hurt me.
Right.
And so that's where we were. That's what we discussed on last week. Very act not I keep saying last week,
I
forgive me,
know.
people. The last time we spoke, very active conversation. I can't imagine that this segment that we're about to embark on, um, to those that have not read the book and you're just tuning in for the first time, um, please know that it walks heavy tonight. I'm going to try not to let it envelop, but it does have some weight to it. And I will allow it to weigh as heavy as Danielle will allow me to weigh it. And I'll be respectful of the conversation. But yeah, there are going to be some times that we're going to go there. And if you're not ready for there, this may be something that you'd want to watch on the playback after you've read a few of the comments and decide if you can handle where it is that we're going. So,
Right,
with that
right.
said, tonight we're going to go into chapters 3, 5, 8, and 9. 3, 5, 8, and 9. Chapter 3 is playing the blame game.
Hmm.
Chapter 5 is the baggage of abuse. Chapter 8 is the man who leads me. And chapter 9 is overcoming it all. Now, before we go ahead and get started and jump right into it, Danielle, any caveats before we jump in?
No, no, let's go. I'm good. I'm good.
Let's
I'm
go.
ready.
How you feeling?
I'm Girl, I'm good.
Okay.
And I say that, and I say that honestly and truthfully, that's where I am. This writing the book, going through the process of writing the book and talking things out, even during that time, has brought about a lot of the pain, right?
Hmm.
So it woke a lot of stuff up, but at
Right.
the very same time, healing took place, restoration in some areas took place. So I'm good. When I did it, I realized, like you said, we've been on some couches. I had to go back to a couch. Like I need to be on a chair. And
Yeah.
I need to do that like now. And so those things, that happened, and it brought back, some, this is necessary, because a lot of times, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, we were talking on here, and when we were talking about, different traumas, again, still dealing with traumas, but we dealt with suicide, and
Right.
in that of how, we tend to believe that we don't need to be on a chair, or people would say, pray, pray, pray. No, Jesus plus therapy.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
two go
'Cause
hand in hand,
The
and it's
T
okay.
okay, it's
It's
okay.
okay.
So yes, I prayed, but yes, there was Jesus as well. And so Jesus plus the therapy, even at this point, I'm still doing Jesus plus therapy. And
Right.
so it's helping me, it's healing me, it's, all of that. So I am good. So go for it. Let's go. Let's do this. Let's
Okay.
go
And
for
one
it.
of the other things that we covered the last time that we spoke is we also agreed that you cannot heal what you do not confront.
It Say it again. Say it for the people in the back.
For the people in the back, you don't have to be stuck there,
Right.
but you do have to go through the process. Healing is a process, it's not an automatic. You don't wake up. No, some people may wake up healed,
Right.
but some of us have to do the work. You have to be willing to have the conversations. You have to be willing to get ugly. You have to be willing to cry. You have to be willing to fall apart so you can be put back together again.
All of that is me. Right. Absolutely. So one of the things that we talked about when we were talking about playing the blame game in regards to everything with that sexual trauma, the abuse that was going through, because that's where we're going to start with first when dealing with this. There was, as we talked about in the
What's
book,
going on?
there were we we had a break on your Wi-Fi, so I went ahead and I
Again?
kept.
God. Okay, because I'm like,
So
what
so I
happened?
kept
I
so
saw
I
two
kept
black
it moving.
screens.
I kept it moving. I know you probably was like, I can hear her. Why is she talking?
I can hear. Okay.
Yeah. So that's the reason that I continued to keep it moving. But I was just going into the actual blame game process of what we've been discussing, because in discussing using the blame game and talking about the sexual abuse and the sexual traumas that had happened, it was so weird, because
Mhm.
I never, first of all, who would ever think that that would happen, right? I never, ever thought that that would happen to me. I asked all of the questions of the whys, and why God,
Right.
why?
Okay.
And so that happened, and when I was ready to write this chapter, like I said in the book, I could, like yesterday, I could tell you every aspect, every part. I could tell you what the smells were, like all of these different things, because that's how still real it is. So we're gonna deal with that
Okay.
first. And before I just start talking and going all in with it, if you have any questions, because I know you were about to say something. So
I
starting
was. I
factor,
was. I
yeah.
was. I
So
was trying to lead us in this thing. And for those of you that are watching, my internet works fine any other time. I do not have a problem with my internet. I'm not sure what's going on. But with
right,
that said, I actually wanted to just start off with the beginning of chapter 3, because that one sort of it solidifies me. And it starts off by saying there's always the one traumatic experience that has the power to change the trajectory of your life and causes you to question your very existence and your purpose in life. When you graduate from high school, you feel accomplished. You feel like you're embarking on the next chapter of your life, whether that means going to college or university or going to work. You are charged and you're ready to go and carpe diem. You're ready to seize the day. That was me. I was ready for the next chapter, and college was that next chapter. But then something happened.
yeah,
And we're going to get into the something happened.
yeah,
For those of you that are following with me, I will not ask you to recant all of the details. We're going to go there, but not as heavy. Um, but there's some things that we're pointing out. And for those that are following with me in your book, there came this day where Danielle and a friend had a mutual friend, male friend, who
hmm,
had just came back from a trip. He says, "Hey, I brought some souvenirs back for you." Um, Danielle's friend said, "Hey, I got one more class," and Danielle volunteers to go get the gift for the both of them.
right,
And then something happens. You said you were going to drive yourself, but then he said, "No, I'll come pick you up."
right.
You said, and then you accepted the offer. And here's where it first happens for me. You said, "I had an uneasy feeling before I left." Every woman is born with what I call an button.
Right. Right.
Something just, I can't put my finger on it. I don't know what's wrong, but I know something ain't right. And yes, I do know how to speak proper English, but something ain't right just sounds better.
You
So
funny.
you know that something ain't right.
You know when something ain't right. Right.
You felt that thing in your shanana so much that you even left a note for your friend
Right.
with his address, advising her of where you were going to be.
Exactly.
Now, I'm asking the tough questions because I'm building up to something. You're going to have to trust me in this process.
Oh, I trust you.
Why'd you go?
I went because he had a gift for us. I would, I mean, honestly, I went because the gentleman was a gentleman again that we trusted. We
We gonna
didn't.
stop calling him a gentleman.
She. I know you don't like that right this minute.
We don't
The
like that.
the assaultant.
The assailant.
Okay. The
Hmm.
assaultant, the assailant. That's what
The
this is.
dirt bag, the
The
creep,
dirt bag, the creep.
the
That's what
guy.
I'm
I'll
gonna give
even
you that.
take the guy. The guy.
The guy. Okay, so the guy was someone that we trusted. The guy was someone that we've, been around a couple of times, with other mutual friends, other mutual male friends that went to high school with me that I grew up my entire life with.
Hmm.
So they were cool. So I was like, they cool, I'm cool. And he had a gift for us. And he made it sound as if, it was like this real nice gift.
Yeah.
So I wanted the real nice gift. And so because she couldn't go at the same time, then I was like, well, I can go and do it. I'm between classes, so I'll go. So that's why I went. I did not have a reason in my mind to not trust him. My gut said wait. And so it's like, but why? I didn't realize that my intuition was kicking in to say, girl, stop. I didn't catch it that way. The reason why I wrote the note, right? Because we've been taught you people need to know where you at.
Right.
So for
Right.
me, I even though I felt that feeling, my thing was though, but she need to know where I'm going anyway. So I'm gonna go ahead and write this because we were always taught like let somebody know where you were in case something happens. So for
Right.
me, in case something happened, this is where I am.
Got it.
So that was the reason there.
Okay. So the buildup. The buildup is now you're in his house and you realize that you're locked in.
Right. Locked in. Like
Locked in.
so I and it was you had the bolt locks on the door, the bolt locks. This bolt lock was a lock that was the two-sided key one. So it wasn't where I could have gone to the door and it was
Right.
the two-sided key. We got in the he locked both of the locks. I didn't think anything of it because I secure my home. So that's where I was. Again, not thinking that there was going to be any repercussions
Right.
for myself for being in there. So yeah, so he locks the door and I'm like, all right, I'm chill. I go and I sit down and I'm like waiting on him to come back with the gift. And boy, did he have a gift. Um,
So
yeah,
I'm with you.
yeah,
Okay. I sat down in the chair while he went into his room. I assumed to get the gifts. However, when he returned, he was naked and holding a snake within his hand.
right.
I was immediately confused, not understanding what was going on. He advanced towards me, and at that moment, I was frozen and instantly afraid. The room felt cold, and fear crept in and crippled me. This is where we are.
Hmm.
I see you, and I'm here.
Okay, so that's where we are, and that's where I was. I literally you don't know where the abuse is going to come from. I want to back up a little bit
Okay.
before even going further because I thought about I thought about for myself later on after this when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
When I was younger, I was approached about running track, and it's probably a little bit too much information, but I try to be careful
I know the
when
story.
speaking. So, okay, I know you know the story, so I'm trying to be careful. And all in all, at that when I look it back now, I saw that that's where I was targeted then. Like there was a target there then. It did not come to fruition. Thank God. I was like what, seventh, eighth grade, ninth grade. I was at the junior campus. Eighth grade or ninth grade, somewhere in between there. I wasn't in the ninth grade, it was in eighth grade. So anyway, um, and I was like, nah, I'm not going. I'm not going to the track meet with you. Like, I'm not leaving the house with you. Like, your mom and dad say you can go. No, I'm not doing that. And I didn't go. And when I went to school and the guys that were doing the track and they were like, they were calling your name, you were supposed to run in the meet, you was in this heat, da 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 da. I was like, I wasn't about to leave because I didn't know he did that. First of all, I didn't know he put my name on the list. I didn't know I was gonna be running, blah, blah, blah. And then I started telling them the story behind the whole thing. I'm not gonna get into that portion because that's too
That's fine.
detailed.
That
But I
I
started
respect that.
telling them the story in regards to the person and what he said or whatever. And the gentlemen, my friends, the guys, two of them were my cousins, they froze and it was like, what? He doesn't have that. Like, wait a minute. And they chuckled because for them it was like, oh, you about to you about to get it. Like it was almost as to say that's his MO to lure people in the at the house. And they sort of kind of knew that he would mess with people, but it was
Right.
like his MO. And they were like, yeah, you better not have going. Don't you ever go, whatever, whatever. I brushed it off thinking, I mean, I'm still younger, not even paying attention, if you will.
Right.
So now fast forward back to me being in this room with this guy who is naked with a
Hmm.
snake in his hand. And I'm like, what's getting ready to happen? Ice cold room, everything is just done. And I'm like, okay, God, what's getting ready to happen? And then it happens.
Right. And then it happens.
And then it happens.
We're not
Yeah.
going to go to what it is. If you
No,
want to
no,
know
no, no,
how
no.
it happens, we're not
You
doing
gotta
that.
read the book because
You got to
I'm
read
not
the
doing
book.
that tonight. Yeah.
Yeah, I got you.
Right. Yeah.
So
Let's
then it
bypass that part.
happens.
Right.
It was the afterwards for me. You say, and I'm at the bottom of this book. It says afterwards, you felt nothing, and then he just got up and walked away.
Yeah. Yeah. He it because it was done. Like he did what he had to do. It was done. And then I was able to run into the bathroom that wasn't locked. Um, and I was just floored. My attire was torn, and I'm like, now it's like, okay, let's go. We got to go back to the campus. First of all, huh? Like you getting ready to take me back like this? But it was that, and then on the ride going back, there were the threats. So now you bring the snake with you. Number one, that you assaulted me with, and you have it with you, and now it's in my face and it's looking at me, and you're telling me, so this is the deal. You can't say anything. I'm gonna hurt you if you do whatever. So I'm going down, and I'm in the like when I tell you I'm riding in the car and it's down the highway, and it's like, just open the door. Cause so we're in Columbia, so we on the highway, this
Right.
traffic. Open the door and just fall out, just be run over, die. Because that's where I was. Like, I can't believe this happened. But
Right.
then it was the fear of even doing that. Like, if I open the door and I actually don't die, then what? Like, it was just so many different things. So that trauma of that abuse, on top of the fact of now I'm trying to save myself. Yeah, I'm trying to save myself by outing myself, if you will, in a sense. It just wasn't going together. It wasn't working. And so I get back to the campus. I'm let out the vehicle again with all of the what you better not do
Right.
and all of this. And I run to the room because, of course, I'm done. I'm abused, right? I run to the room and I'm in a ball, like I'm there, and then I encounter my girlfriend that was, at the class, and she immediately was like, "Oh, oh my God, like this didn't happen." So it was a whirlwind because now I placed her in my trauma.
Right.
So though I was the one that was abused, I placed her in the midst of it to now she's feeling the effects. On the flip side of that, and I don't think I put this in the book, I begin to be thankful that she didn't go as well, because I didn't know what would happen. Suppose both how would this abuse look if she was there?
Right.
Both of us were there. Then now we decide, do we have enough strength because it's both of us to fight? I don't even know if when he got there, he was able to text to let other people even know, like both of them. Like, I don't know what the MO was. I don't know if he had, it was going to be
Right.
a multiple, like, I had no idea. But then if she was there, like all of those things were going through my head. And while she's trying to comfort me the best way she could, I'm comforting her in the sense of, I'm glad you wasn't there. This could have been, it could have been you and all of this stuff. And now she's trying to find the way to make this work. How do we heal? How do you heal? What do we have to do? Who do we have to call? And then I'm like, "Phew,
Okay. Can we take a pause in that moment because we
sure.
discussed something the last time that fits right here. For me, it fits right here.
Okay.
Can we tie your innate want to make her better back to how you were raised and just wanting everybody else to be okay?
There you go.
It's a
And
learned
that's
behavior.
it's a learned behavior.
It's a learned behavior.
And that is a form of abuse in itself,
Absolutely.
because that learned behavior caused me to continue to abuse myself by putting other people in front of me.
Yes.
So that there you go. So that learn I just kept doing it. And even in that moment, even in that whole scenario, I still placed her needs before mine, or her feelings before my own.
Because you
I
weren't
didn't
used to
want her.
someone caring for Danielle.
I wasn't used to, no, no, not in
Yeah.
my mind. So I wasn't used to
Right.
somebody caring for me. And not only that, I was like, don't even cry for me. Like, what are you doing? Like, I, I got this. So the whole I'm strong, not on any level of strong, but I'm strong and all that. Like, I'm carrying it. I'm a carry it. I'm gonna do what I
Right.
gotta do, because I'm gonna walk this alone, because I'm always walking by myself. That's how I felt. So I'm gonna work this out on my own. So that's where I was.
But that is the ideal. And again, I don't have the numbers. I feel that that
Right.
is the thought process of quite a few, if not most victims. I'm already hurting. I don't need those that I love to hurt too. So I'm going to carry this.
Right. Right.
It's the protection of everybody else, because there's no need for everybody to be hurt. I'm already hurt. So let me
Right.
just carry this.
So let me just carry it, and let me just do it on my own. Nobody really has to know. Like, nobody
Right.
really has to know. So let me just get myself together, right? um it was so crazy, because of course now it's going back to the well, to home, because I wasn't living on campus. So now I had to go back home. And
Right.
then I didn't want my sister, because me and my sister stayed together. I didn't want my sister to see this. I didn't want her to see how everything was. And so my functioning, so now, to heal me, for me to function,
Mm-hmm.
I went home. I know what I cooked. I made me some rice and pork chops, and pork and beans, because that's a good meal.
That's a good
And
meal.
it is. And I cook because, number one, when I'm home before her, that's the thing I did anyway.
Right.
So I didn't want her to have any questions as to why a meal wasn't prepared or why something wasn't done. So that's the one thing I did. And I was in my room. My girlfriend, she was there with me, and she was just like still on the forefront of, we got to do something. We got to say something. We got to say something. And I was just like, no, like, you got to tell your sister. I was like, no, like, I just didn't. Because guess what? I'm still numb.
You said you cooked so you could feel normal. Journey, we see you. We're going to get you in the next chapter. Hold that thought, Journey. We got you. But you said you needed to feel a sense of normalcy.
Yeah,
So after something very traumatic, your first thing was, I just want to feel normal.
right. I wanted to feel normal. I wanted um to look normal. Um I wanted to be free from it. That sounds weird. But
No, it doesn't.
I wanted to be free from it. I didn't want anyone to have a look of like, okay, oh my God, I'm sorry, you feel so bad, or this is I just didn't want that for myself, because
Right.
again, that's not who I am or was. I'm the type of person that I make it happen for myself. That makes sense? I don't know if that
It
makes sense.
does.
Okay.
It makes sense to those of us that has been our story and that's been our place. For those that have always had that outlet, it may not make sense, to be honest with you. But for those that are used to covering up, who are used to putting on the mask, who are used to going through the trauma and then venturing on because we feel we can't fold in this moment, it makes perfect sense.
Right. And so that's where I
The
was.
one other thing that I want to address was, yeah, I think I do want to address it. After feeling normal for as long as you could feel normal, you said one day I mustered up the courage to explain to my family, to explain to my father why I left school. Because at this point, you had left school because you couldn't see him anymore. You didn't
No,
want to see him anymore.
no, absolutely not. I would
Yeah.
So for the rest from that day on, because I had to look normal, right? So from that day on,
Mm-hmm.
every day I got up, I got in my vehicle, I drove the campus as I would be going to school, and I
Right.
went to my friend's room and I stayed there all day or whatever the time frame was for me to be on campus for that day because I had my block, how schedules of the classes. So I stayed in that room. Every once in a while, I tried to venture out. The first time I tried to venture out and I was walking down the street, I'm like, I'm going to the Russell House because I need something to eat. And I go walk into the Russell House, and who did I walk into?
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
And the look I got, first of all, it was like, hey, what's up? Why aren't you talking to me? But he had to be normal too, right? So the look that I received from him too, even with the yeah, hey, what's up, was like, say something. I still got you. Like he never ever ever let me go, if that makes sense. And so I had to stop. I had to stop walking around on campus. So then now I can't go to class.
Right.
So me being able to not go to class, then I was failing classes because I wasn't going, right?
Right. Right.
And so I became the college dummy. I'm gonna say that because that's the words. I became the college dummy, the college dropout. I just didn't know anything. No, it wasn't because of that.
Right.
It was because I couldn't continue to walk towards my assailant, the guy. I couldn't. I was going
Right.
to see him everywhere that I would go on campus, and I started thinking about it. Like I was a biology major. I got some smarts, people.
All right now.
I was biology pre-med. I what? So yeah. And he was in some of the same areas. So there you have it. So I had to muster up the courage to say to my family, this is why.
Right.
So I did it. And then the response, eh, okay. So
The response was hard hitting. Are we going to save that for the people to read the book for?
yeah, let's say that for the people to read
Okay.
the book for.
One other thing I want to tackle in this
Go ahead.
chapter,
Go ahead.
it says, after being violated, my attitude towards men changed. It was simple. You'll never be able to take anything from me again. And this is when you entered into your phase of promiscuity.
Yeah,
Because your thing was, as long as you had control over your body and you were giving it, they couldn't take it.
absolutely. And
I,
that's where that abuse was. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you,
no, no,
but
you're fine. This is you.
that's where that abuse took me. That's where it pushed me.
Absolutely.
Forget that. You're not
Yeah.
taking it. So this is how and it took a minute to even get there, to
Yeah.
be honest with you, because of course again, you're going through that hurt, that trauma, that pain of that type of abuse. So it took me a minute to even get to that point. But at the same time, now rape me was on my forehead. That's what I felt. So
Right.
because that's on my forehead, any interest, somebody could have just been like, "Yo, like, hey, how you doing?" I saw rape me.
Okay.
I saw that in their eyes. I did not see a genuine hello, Danielle. I could not see it. Some of
Right.
them were to go past that because you in college. I think I was sort of kind of cute. So, you got the person be like, hey, and it's like, you could tell that flair to it possibly wanting to holler at you. Well, before you holler at me, let me just go ahead and give you what you want. Because that's what was in my head. So I just gave them what they wanted.
Right.
And
I
so yeah.
read something today and I'm like, there could have been no better day for me to read what I'm about to read to you. I even wrote it down. And
Okay.
it says, trauma is the gateway drug that they did not warn us about. I'm not a hoe. I'm not a drunk. I'm not a crackhead. I'm traumatized.
That's it. In like a whole nutshell. That right there is it. Because that is, yeah.
Yeah.
Whew.
Yeah.
That's all I can say right now. Whew.
Yeah. Trauma does to us. They say marijuana is the gate drug. No,
Girl,
trauma
it's
does to us
not.
what marijuana never could.
trauma will take you to places. I was going to say a place, but
Places.
trauma will take you to places that you never ever thought imaginable. Um I said before, nobody's trauma is small. No
Right.
trauma is a small trauma, right? Um and but it will take you to a place that it is like crazy unimaginable. I can't talk right now. And then you're sitting there and you're thinking like, how did I get here? How did I get into this specific spot? Like, how did I get into this specific slump? I see Christine said we make it happen for others when we need it for ourselves. The
Yeah.
mask. Then these
Yes.
masks starts to form
Of
because now
course.
that trauma has taken you to a whole nother spot in life. And so now the cover-ups happen. Boom, mask for this, boom,
Masculine.
mask for that, boom, mask for that. You don't know what to do. You don't know what to
Right.
expect. You don't know how to heal. You don't know how to perform. And so it takes you in a whole whirlwind of things. Nah, it ain't weed, it's trauma. We to make it feel good. I mean, I don't know. I don't know for sure.
Yeah. So I heard.
I ain't
You know.
so I
I mean,
so I heard. I ain't never did that. Lies. So I heard, but yeah. But that's what that was for me.
so yeah, and trauma shows up differently. So we
Hmm.
need to be very careful how we judge people.
Right. Absolutely.
Be- because you don't know my story doesn't mean that I don't have one. And the person that's the funniest in the room is sometimes the person with the most trauma. Yeah.
Can I, we talked about that help. What is it? Ambivert. I got it right, Journey. The introvert,
Omniverse.
ambivert, whatever.
Omniverse. Close enough.
Introvert, extrovert, whatever the word is. But that's how I became so extroverted. I am truly an introvert at heart, but I just kicked it in because the mask you're trying to
Yeah.
heal, you're trying to go through these process of trying to know how to heal properly, you don't know. And again, with the way the rejection and stuff, from you got to read the other chapters, the
Right.
rejection and the things that I felt from my past didn't help any,
Right.
because I didn't feel like I had anybody to really lean on. So I'm
Yeah.
gonna go through it the way I know how. So I'm gonna be the loudest one in the room. My family members tell me now, you so loud. You talk so loud, trying to get my voice heard because it wasn't before. I don't
Right.
have to do that now, right? But I've been
It's a learned
trained.
behavior.
It's a learned behavior.
It's a
So
learned
everything
behavior.
is extra, everything is loud. So yeah, it's just, oh man, it's so much.
As creatures, we adapt is what we do.
Right.
We adapt. When you're a mother for the first time, no one really teaches you to teach your child to latch. You just sort of adapt to each other, and you learn to latch for those mothers that are breastfeeding, or
Right.
you learn your child's cry. Your ear adapts to the cry of your child, or your body adapts to the style and the lovemaking style of your husband. As creatures, we just adapt.
Right.
And if
And it's
me
fun
adapting and putting on the mask is going to keep you from looking at my secret stuff, then I'll make you laugh all day long.
all day
I'm
long.
real funny.
I'm and I'm gonna put on all the masks that I can.
All of them.
And the adaptation that you're talking about, even when you're having kids, like my first child
Hmm.
that I was able to have and keep and bringing to the world. When I had Kennedy, listen, I had all of the bottles of hand sanitizers, the big ones, carrying around, squirting everybody hand, da 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 da. Keep the germs off a child. Don't touch. I'm popping elderly women on the hand, but don't touch my child. Da, da, like doing all of these things because it's so precious. I'm trying to make sure that she's safe, right?
Yeah.
So my second child, I was like, here, I
Who
wasn't
would
letting
take?
other people. Exactly. I wasn't even. I would with Kennedy. You couldn't hold Kennedy. No, I don't
Yeah.
know you. I was like y'all. And who wanted Reagan tonight? Like y'all,
Okay.
like
The whole night.
because now I adjusted. I
Of
knew where
course.
the adjustment was supposed to take place. For me during this process, I never knew where the adjustment was. I couldn't find it. Therefore, for years, I kept it as usual. Just kept going. Just kept going. Kept going. So.
And Journey
Anyway,
said she was sick of you in that sanitizer business. She said you ran
listen,
out now.
listen. I did. Everybody was telling me that, and I didn't care because my baby was too
Yeah.
precious. I had to take care of her, and
So
that's what we
now
do. We
we're
take
about to
care.
embark on Journey's question that she asked earlier. She asked, when did you put the baggage down? So we're going to the baggage of abuse,
Hmm.
where something else happens. This is chapter 5.
Yes.
And on 5, it says, giving myself to men prevented them from taking me and becoming extremely extroverted. We just talked about that.
Right.
You said, I had to put on a persona of being free, outgoing, and unreserved on the extreme side of an extrovert because I had to mask the pain that I was dealing with on the
Hmm.
inside.
Right.
It is the story of a lot of other women's lives, whether they're willing to
Absolutely.
believe it or not, or whether they're
Absolutely.
willing to admit it or not. It is the story of their lives. And then you go into the chapter and you talk about the second violation. You talk about
Right.
the second rape.
Right. And so, which again it made it even, I guess, worse for me, if I could say it that way. Because now talking about the second one, I will say this too. After the first one, I to get away and to heal in the mass. That's when I went into the military. Once a
Yeah,
Marine, always Marine. So that's when I was like, I'm out, I'm going. And I went into the military, and in the military, still promiscuous because because again, I'm still trying. And in the Marine Corps, it's literally like one woman to every 1,000 men. Like they was, because there are very few female Marines, right?
right,
There's very few African American female Marines. So let's just go even further. In my company, there were only three African American female Marines.
got it.
So, yeah. So I'm there, and there's a whole plethora of gentlemen there. And all of these gentlemen were, and I can't say gentlemen because these people were gentlemen. All of
I'll
them
let you have
were,
that.
you let me have that. Thank you.
Yeah,
All of them were gentlemen, but there were persons and people that now they're pursuing because they're trying to find a woman
right.
again. So I got a lot of attention
You've
in the
got
military.
options.
I got options and I had a lot of attention. Therefore, whoo child, I was the worst. Like for real, for real. The what you read about, the trauma, you ain't the whole, you ain't this, that, you just traumatized on a different level, like way different. So I did me protecting me because again, you're not taking anything from me. So
Right,
now this is happening. I fast forward to now I'm, in school because I got out of the military. Now I'm in school and everything is, I'm at South Carolina State at this time. Everything is peachy keen and hunky dory. I'm still doing me, but I'm protecting me at the same time. And bam, I get raped again.
by a
Rape
friend.
me
By a friend.
by a friend.
Yeah,
Rape me on my forehead.
and a family friend.
And a family friend. I was just about to say that. And a family friend at that. What? Like, so I'm like, for real, guy, like, for real. And I'm like, who does, and go even further. This person also knew about the rape.
Right. So this was someone that you trusted to tell of that moment in your life, which not a lot of people knew up to this point.
No, not a lot of people knew. And
So I
so,
trusted you with my secret space.
yeah.
I called you friend. And
Hmm.
as them folks like to say in the country, we almost raised up together,
Girl, raise up.
raised up together.
Raise up together.
And this is what you do.
Yeah. After you knew about you knew, not only did you know, but you knew details. And so this what you do.
Yeah,
Okay. And then, of course, the blame game of it for myself, I started blaming myself because, yeah, so we were eating dinner. I had cooked and we are eating dinner. We did have a few drinks. We weren't drunk. Let me throw that in there. Well, I wasn't
right.
drunk, but we did have some drinks or whatever with the meal and everything. And bam, this is occurring. And I was bold enough to be like, "What you doing?" stop. Like, I was like, whoa, like, stop, what you doing?
Right.
But it was overpowering. I'm like, all right. And I relented. You know what? Forget this. Go ahead. And I laid there again. I found myself ice cold. Do what you got to do. Just be done. Just do it. What am I supposed to do with that? Like, and then so this time too though, however, I felt like I was almost empowered because now to heal myself, to take control, I went to the police station.
Right.
I went and talked to everybody, filled out a whole report. Yup, this the name. I knew where they lived. This the address. Blah blah blah. I'm sick of this because now I'm fed up. I got to the point it's like somebody got to answer for this right here because this abuse is not cool. So
But then
boom boom
something
boom boom
happened.
boom. Family friend. So now that baggage from the past of putting everybody else's feelings first, what are everybody else going to think? Now, what I'm getting ready to do is show up the people. Forget Danielle. People going to start talking about this individual and the
Right.
family. Now you're going to bring it up, and then the family going to sever ties, if you will, because of this situation. So I say, yeah, I don't want to press charges. Them
So
cops
once
were so
again,
mad.
you put
Once
someone
again,
else. Once again, you put someone else ahead of
abs-
Danielle.
absolutely. And the officers were ticked off. They were done. They were like, no, not mad at me, right?
Right.
But they were like, supposedly do it to somebody else. I was just like, mm, hopefully he doesn't. I don't. eh. I didn't even know what to think until they
Right.
sent a victim's advocate out. Like, and she was a female because, of course, I'm gonna share this piece, and I think we talked about it. If it wasn't me and you, I think it was me and Reggie at some point when we were talking about church stuff. Um, and I think my pastor actually said this too. I can't remember, but we look at women when they've been abused by, especially a male figure, and then you
Mm-hmm.
look at that male figure in the church, and that person is over you, and you're like, oh, I got to deal with you, and you're above me, but this is the kind of abuse I get from men. So it sort of puts this thing there. Well, the officers were males when I was doing a
Right.
report. So their minds, they were like, yo, she got to talk to a lady. If she talked to a lady, then they will make her, not make her, but that will give her more freedom to relent and say, all right, let's go get this dude, whatever. I met the lady in a neutral space, and we are going through all of this, and she's being real nice. You know, and I'm like, yeah, I can't do this. Like, you can tear them papers up. She was like, I ain't tearing it up. Like, oh no, we gonna keep this on file. I'm not tearing it up.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, I just don't want this to ever come up again. And I left it just like that.
Now, when you were assaulted the first time, you left school.
Yes.
You were assaulted the second time. This is a family friend.
Uh huh.
Have there been interactions with that person since?
Interaction. No, not
Okay.
I mean,
Uh, have you seen? Have you been in? Have you two been in each other's presence?
yes, and okay. So yes. So I'm gonna
Okay.
say yes. We have. At the same time, it was like on his part, oh snap, and it's like, let me skedaddle. Um,
Okay.
I have, like, we haven't made it business to be in each other's presence. However, when I go to a funeral, family, right?
Right.
You may see the individual, things like that, but then again, when they're seen, it's like skedaddle. Like, I'm out. Let me,
Got it.
whatever. So that's the type of interaction there.
Okay. And Journey says that you put them ahead of you, knowing that they would never do the same for you.
Oh yeah, and that's again cycle of abuse. I never, no, they wouldn't do the same. No, they wouldn't do the same thing for me.
Right.
I protected them. I have always been a protector my entire life. I've been, guess what? I've been a protector for someone else or a protector of someone else. I
Right.
protected others. I never protected Danielle. Never. But even when opportunities came forth that I could, I did not. I did everything for everybody else. Like that's the type of person I've always been, and that's the protective type person I've always been. So there you have it. I just I yeah, I didn't protect anybody else. And so the baggage that it was like the baggage of rape. I felt like I was like literally because it happened again. I was like, I gotta drop this bag, gotta go. So going back to when did I put the bag away? Um, I needed and I shared in the book. It was like I needed
The
an
woman at the
encounter.
well.
Yeah, I needed an encounter like, hey Kenny, hey babe. I needed an encounter literally like never before. Like that was the hardest counseling and all of that. I dropped the bag. I promised myself I wasn't going to carry that again. Like no. And when I say carry it, because another thing that we talked about when we talked about generational curses, when we were talking about the
Hmm.
suicide thing that Reggie and Journey was on, generational curses are carried by people that have the purses. You literally carry these things with you. You can drop the bag, you can kick the bucket over, but you
Right.
have to go through that process of doing it. Um, and so it was a hard thing. I'm not sure like when I put the bag down, um, or whatever. And I want to answer this question to Journey twofold because I think when I saw you post the question, I was talking about my friend that picked up my bag of hurt and trauma as well. So um I want to answer in that regards with this question with her. When did I put the baggage down? When did I let her go? I'm putting my friend right there too. When did I let her go that so that I could heal? And I'm gonna say so that she could heal. Because a lot of times, when somebody grab a burden that doesn't belong to them, which I believe that she did, that became an abusive thing in regards to her because now I was putting a lot of stresses on her. I was putting a lot of burdens and struggles on her because now she's fighting this war of who's supposed to know how am I supposed to let somebody know she was hurt, da 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 da. She was going through these emotions and things of this nature. Like she called the guy that I was dating, and he came over, and I was just like, what you gonna do? He's wanting to like, I want to go to the doggone, let's go, tell me who he is. I looked at her like, I promise you, I'm gonna kill you if you do, because I knew he had a gun in his car. Number one, he was strapped, and he was gonna go try to find him
Right.
because he wanted to handle business, which is what I thought my dad was gonna do. When my dad found out, opposite. Anyway, so it was just really really weird. So I had to let her go, and we talked about it years later.
Hmm.
Years later, I did have a conversation with my friend, and we talked about it, sort of kind of briefly in regards to that, and I apologized for dumping so much on her. And when I say dumping so much on her, not here I go with having somebody else's priorities or feelings over mine again, right? My producer's shaking his head like, yeah, but but dumping so much on her in regards of that having to have to go through whether or not I gotta say something, trusting her to not because I'm begging her not, wherein that was a crisis that needed to be handled.
Right.
So I brought her into it, bringing her into it. I could have gotten in my car and gone straight home. I didn't have to go to her room, right? But I went to her room. Why did I go to? So all of these
You
things
needed
were
a
coming.
safe space.
I needed a safe
You
space.
needed a safe
So, and I
space.
felt like that was a safe space, but then jumping the gun to where now to protect her. Why did I do that? I could have gone to my car and sat in my car. I could, you know what I'm saying? So I was doing all of that, and that's why I said, letting her go and not causing more detriment and harm for her to heal. I had to let her release her, if you will, from the situation, and she was thankful for that. Now, when did I put the bag down for myself
Mm-hmm.
so that I could heal? I don't know. When that really occurred, again, that bag, it took a minute because number one, that happened twice. 94 and 2000, two separate times, 6 years apart. So I had to deal on that level twice of when I won't say when I thought I dropped the bag because I never really did, but when I started to release it a little bit, like when I was starting to like put it down, then it happened again. It was like, okay. So it was just a process of just trying to heal, trying to learn from it, trying to grow from it, getting counseling, get counsel for it. I know
Right.
someone has in the comment that they never went to counseling for it. Listen, I would stress that I think counseling is necessary, and I'm glad that you're getting ready to do it now because I think it's necessary. Again, Jesus plus therapy.
Yeah.
You can put Jesus on a lot, but if you don't have therapy, if you don't go through all of like you have to talk about it, you know, telling the Lord all about your troubles. He can do it. Or it could be some instant healing for some people. It wasn't for me.
Absolutely.
It wasn't for me. And so I had to go through
That is not
counseling.
most people's story. The instant when it comes to traumatic events that are mental and physical doesn't usually happen instantly.
Right. And
Yeah.
that mental, physical, emotional, psychological, it was just, oh, all of the O's were there.
Right.
And it
Some of
was
us
just,
want to dance our way into healing. We can't dance our way into healing. You got to do the
no,
work.
no,
Yeah,
absolutely.
get a
And
good
some,
shout on. That's all great and grand.
and
But go sit somewhere and have a conversation.
listen, and even with you getting a shot on, that's just a good exercise for you right then.
Yeah,
Because, you know, shouting on false hope, if I can say it that way,
you can say it that way.
people do it all the time. I was doing it, sort of, kind of. I don't think I was really saved fully. People say I wasn't fully saved back then anyway. So I definitely can say shouting on false hope, thinking that I would be okay. If I could just shout it out, cry it out, it wasn't working. Those
No.
tears were not working for me.
We have a
Um,
lot of leaders that are leading and bleeding at the same time.
ooh, and I do not need your blood on me.
Yeah.
Um, I do not. This question. So it happened the second time. Did
Hmm.
feelings from the first trauma research first absolutely resurfaced? Yes, ma'am. Um, yes, it did. It so again, when I thought the baggage was down, picked it right back up. All of those feelings. So the feelings never went away from the first one. And when I say never went away, I'm even talking about when it was happening again. I almost felt like all of what happened the first time just clashed. It combined immediately when it was
Right.
happening again. So literally the feelings that I felt, the physical feelings that I felt the first time, even though the same thing wasn't happening, I could feel the exact same things happening.
Is that why you mentally checked out and shut down? You said you
Girl,
just went numb.
yes. I just went
Yeah.
numb. Because literally I felt like I was just reliving everything over again for a second time. It was like just a different face, right? Um
Did you ever
did,
blame yourself?
yes. I did. Okay, so remember, if and I know BJ, you got the book, so I know you can relate to
Yeah.
this because I know you had the book. So in the book, when I stated, okay, so we had dinner, we had drinks. I was even just saying this now. We had some drinks, weren't drunk.
Right.
I wasn't drunk, but I did have some drinks, and he had his drinks. He probably was a little tipsy, whatever. So immediately I went to, well, had he not been there,
Right.
had I not drink, had I not served an alcoholic beverage, maybe the tipsiness is what pushed him over there, like all of that. So it became my fault. I did it. I did this. I blame myself the first time too. I blame myself. Again, why did you go? Why did you go when you felt like you shouldn't have gone? That was one of the questions at the top of the hour. Why did you do it? I wanted the gift. Well, if you wasn't so eager to get a gift, your gift would have still been with you. Like I blamed myself. I blame myself for I've been blaming myself literally for all of the things that happened to me. I'm old enough to decide or make decisions.
Yeah, that's a word. Because we get to choose.
We get to choose.
We get to
So
choose.
even though somebody asked me this, when did from the last conversation we did with the rejection and stuff. So when did you become old enough to realize that you might have been rejected, but you old enough to make your own decisions? I was a kid. Like
Yeah.
this happened as a child. So yes, you're right. When I got older, I made my own decisions with some things. However, as a child, I should not have been subjected to what I was subjected to that could drop these seeds
Right.
of, you know what I mean? So yeah, I blamed myself. I blamed
Right.
myself for a long time.
Blame
Um,
serves no purpose in the
and it's
healing process. None.
none. I like and the counselor literally was like, all right, we got to get over this right here. You got to stop that. They didn't say it just like that, but that's what I was like.
No,
You have to stop that. You have to
because it
stop
serves
blaming.
no purpose.
It doesn't.
Blame is what keeps us bound and in bondage.
Ding, 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 ding,
That's
ding,
what
ding, ding.
blame does.
Bam. That's what blame.
It serves no other purpose.
And not only that, the shame that went along with it.
Hmm.
Because now, hence, shame is not to blame. Now, I am shameful of what happened.
Right.
There we go. A mask. Intimacy, and we get ready to talk about the man who leads me,
Right.
but intimacy with my husband after it's funny because became promiscuous. I know y'all read how we got, if you got the book, how we became a thing, right?
Right.
So that extroverted, this what we gonna do type thing, again, that was a mask to cover up the shamefulness I have inside. Somebody was talking to me the other day and they were talking about, you oh my gosh, you're so pretty and whatever. And I was like, they were like, why do you do that? I'm such a, because I don't like that. Like, stop. It's like, oh, don't do that. So with this part of my life, even with him, I'm trying to be intimate with my husband, and I'm like, turn the lights out, all of that because shame. I had to go through that baggage of rape. Now he sees me. How
Right.
does he see me? How does he see me? You know what I mean?
Well, I'm going to tell you how he saw you since we're talking about the man that leads you.
How he saw me.
It says
So
on
wait,
this
wait, wait,
day,
wait, 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 wait.
yes,
Journey asks, when did I decide to protect myself?
that's coming after this, in my opinion.
And I was gonna
Oh,
tell
I got her.
Journey, okay, you
I got
got it.
her.
Good. I was gonna say Journey, we didn't forget
We
that
didn't
question.
forget
We
it.
got
It's
you. We
coming.
got you. You got you. My
On
husband said
this
he
day at
listening.
McDonald's in Orangeburg, South Carolina, I met someone who would break the mold.
I'm
According to
sorry.
him, he instantly noticed my smooth, dark chocolate skin and he marveled at my beauty.
I'm gonna put a pin right here for those that you hold on, because people, cause like I wrote, so get the book. But this is funny because when people read a chapter, of course it's written in my voice. My husband actually wrote this chapter, but we just
Okay.
put it in my voice. So all of the stuff that y'all hearing right now, this is Kenyatta's words. Okay, this is
So when you say,
these
how did
belong to
he
him.
see you, baby? He saw you.
He
He
saw
saw
me, ain't
every bit of you. He saw that chocolate thing sitting over there in that corner, putting salt on the fries.
girl, listen. He was and flipping, and he was flipping the them burgers, going like, yeah, I see her over there trying to get herself a caramel sundae with nuts. And then when we started working together, just like you said, I'm shaking the fries. He was like, yeah, shake, baby. Go ahead. I'm just joking. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Too far,
But
too
no,
far,
this
too
is
far.
this is this is about the man who leads you. So now we have gone through not just two traumatic events, but two traumatic events that stand out
Yes.
because there was trauma along the way.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
there were two traumatic events that stand out. For those that are listening that haven't read the book in a while and you got to reread it again, starting with, and let's go back even a little further. We've gone through the this is how I grew up and this is what dad and mom did in that moment, because we agreed also last time that they did the best they could with what they had in the moment.
Right.
In the
Right.
moment.
Absolutely.
No, it wasn't
Absolutely.
great, but those were the tools that they had in the moment.
Right. And we
So with
also
that said,
pointed out last time
okay,
as well, as people cannot, they can't address things or deal with something they don't know. So I
right,
can't, they weren't held accountable for things they did not know. And
right,
so I I shared that part again with my mom after the last session that we did. Because she was like, but she started doing that. I was like, oh my gosh. I said, did you read the book? Did you read that part? I said, it's in there. I cannot hold you accountable for something that you did not
right.
know. So stop it. She said, so I
And
don't
we
have
said
that.
that.
Right. And we said that. And then she said, so
And
I
we
shouldn't
said
have a
it.
dark cloud over my head. Right. I was like, no,
No.
mama, you shouldn't have a dark cloud. But if you need to put that cloud on, no, I'm just joking. But no, you shouldn't have a
No, we
dark cloud in your head.
purposely said that they did what they could in the moment because there was also some unaddressed trauma on their end.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That cycle of trauma. So yeah.
But
So
building
good.
up to the man that leads you, there was the trauma that you experienced as a child. There was the not belonging, not fitting, not feeling, not being good enough.
Right.
And then you get raped. And then
Right.
you go into this bout of promiscuity. And then you get raped again.
Mm-hmm.
And you once again become promiscuous. And you're like, okay, I'm done.
Right.
Because this is how trauma shows up. And let me put a pin right here. Parents, loved ones, sisters, brothers, whatever. If you had a sibling, a friend, a child that was one way and all of a sudden they are wilding out,
Right.
there's a reason. We don't go from good to bad just because we want to be bad.
Right.
There's a reason. Especially with your children, watch your children because children are not naturally sexual. They're introduced to sex.
Exactly.
Yeah, they're not naturally sexual. So stop talking about the fast tail little child that you have and talk about that uncle that made her the fast tail child that she is.
Talk about it.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, I know.
That's not in the
Digress.
book anywhere.
That's
I
not in
just
the book
wanted to get
anyway.
that
You
off
just
my
you
chest.
just want to get that off.
I
Get
just
that
wanted to
off.
get that off my chest.
Right.
But this ain't about me. So now we're at McDonald's and we have met this man.
Hmm.
And you were still very standoffish when it came to him in the very beginning. You actually didn't have a conversation with him for about a month. You
Hmm.
saw each other, it was hi bye conversation for about a month before I initiated a full conversation with him. He'd smile, I'd smile back. But in the back of your mind, he wasn't any different than any other man.
Right.
And Journey used my nickname. I love her. So you smile, he smiled back, but he was just like any other man up to this point.
Right. Exactly.
Because your track record up to this point has not been so great or grand
At all.
at all. Even the man that you first loved did not treat you well at the time.
That part. That's good.
So,
That's part.
yeah, that's important to the story. That's the only reason why I bring it up.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, one day, y'all closing in the lobby. Y'all should have been going home. No, y'all want to sit in the lobby and have
We had to
conversation.
wait until we had
Uh
to
huh.
wait until
I
the
know how
the
McDonald's work. Y'all should have
the,
been going.
no, no.
Kenyatta said he's listening
Listen, we had to wait until the
until the night
supervisor
manager counted the money so
counted
everybody
them
could leave together.
exactly.
I
So
know
that
this
we were just
story.
waiting on her. All right, we was
Uh
waiting
huh.
on her.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And then you found out that he wasn't in a relationship. So you invited him over.
Hmm.
Now, at this point, you had a plan.
Absolutely.
Danielle had a plan. Danielle was on the prowl. He's just like every other man. I've got a plan. Yeah, you got a plan.
Yes, that's true. Absolutely.
And read the book, but nothing happened that night because Kenyatta had a plan. He
Yeah.
wanted to prove like he wasn't just like every other man.
Exactly.
when
Exactly.
he had every opportunity to be just like every other man,
Every
every
opportunity.
opportunity to be. He chose
Every
not to be.
every opportunity, even with me going, dude.
Yeah.
Every
Like, do
opportunity.
you
Yeah.
see me? Is
Do
what you
you?
said to him.
That's what I said. Do you not see this?
Yes.
Like, what's up? Yeah. Yeah.
And he said, yeah, and
Mhm.
walked away.
Absolutely.
This is when we know he's different.
This is when we know he's different, and it threw me for a dat drat loop
Yeah.
because again, that drat is a word to me
We're
tonight.
going to use
Okay,
it.
my producer he laughing like hysterically behind the scenes right now. It because I, again, if you looked at me a certain way or whatever the case may be, I knew right then that's my forehead was like lit up. So
Right.
let me go ahead and let's just do this. BJ said my plan backfired.
Yeah, it did.
Yes, it did. It backfired. Um, and let me say this too, because though it was a plan, the plan too still yet in itself was a protective plan. The
Right.
plan was that it wasn't necessarily like, oh, I wanted to do that or I wanted him.
No, because he was like every other
He
man.
was like
So
every
let
other
me let
man.
me let me give it to him before he tries to take it.
Right. And that was it. That was
Yeah.
it because I noticed the notice and I was like, man, and we worked together. So let me go ahead and nip this in the bud right quick. And I was like, yeah, you cute. I can work this out. Yeah, all of that. That was, muscular and thing. All right, yeah. So I can deal with it. I can have a good plan and do this plan.
Right.
But yeah, it just didn't work. And it threw me because I'm like, wait a minute, like what just happened? Like,
Right.
why is he respecting me?
Yeah.
Why is he respecting me? No one else did. So then now I got this gentleman because he's a gentleman. He's respecting me. He's respecting every ounce of me. It's like, I'm going to respect you. I'm going to treat you right. And I'm going to do this because you are and as he said to me later on in I will say later on in life and when talking to him,
Okay.
as he would say, like I was the apple of his eyes, probably not
Right.
that specific words, but
Mm-hmm.
that's where he was. He was
Right.
like, I'm not going to do this because, like you say, he had a plan. I want you to know that I'm not like everybody else.
Right.
Did he want to? Absolutely did, because he
I'm
said it.
sure he did.
He was like, I'm a man. What you think? Like, yeah, I absolutely did want this to take place. I wanted it to occur. However, I'm not going to do it because this is not what needs to
Okay.
happen right now. So yeah, he had the plan. It backfired, but
It backfired.
yes, but
So let's fast forward a little bit. Now the two of you, somebody says King recognizes a queen. That's cute. Thank you, Shonda. So now the two of you have decided to some whatever level to have a level of intimacy.
right,
And in your head, you defined it as friends with benefits in the beginning.
absolutely. That's all it was for
That's all
me.
it was.
Yeah.
And then one day out of the blue, he asked if we could be exclusive. This
Yeah.
shocked me and it was a complete surprise. Although he wasn't thinking as far as marriage, to be exclusive was great for us since we had only spoken about marriage on a surface level. So now you've got this man that, at least in some shape or form, wants to be dedicated to you.
Right. And again,
Mm-hmm.
that space was, but why?
Yeah.
Every ounce, everything that was going on was still, but there's an ulterior motive. So let's get to the nitty gritty. Let's
Yeah.
you
Because who
yeah
wants
you want
some? He didn't know that you were as damaged as you were. Can
right.
I say that?
Yes,
And you not
absolutely.
be
Because
offended?
no,
Okay.
I'm not offended because
Okay.
that's what it was. I was
Yes.
damaged goods. Yeah.
So now Kenyatta has fallen in love with this beautiful chocolate skinned woman who listens to him. She asks him about himself. She nurtures him vocally with her voice. She feeds his soul. She feeds his body. All of these things are on one accord. And you said, I cared for him and I showed it. I was into him and he could feel it. I was interested in seeing him beyond where he was and he knew it. He felt safe with me. And there hadn't been another woman that made him feel safe the way that I made him feel safe. Now I will caveat what I'm about to say was, yes, women out there, I am single. However, I have spoken with enough men to know if you're wondering why the man gets married to somebody after 6 months when he's been to somebody for the 10 years, it's this right here.
Right.
It's this.
Hmm.
This is what he's looking for. He's looking for somebody that could feel him, that somebody that knew who he was, and somebody that wants the best for him and pushes him. So that's why sometimes the man will get married to somebody after 6 months when they've been with another, when they've been with your friend, because they ain't been with you because you're a good woman out there. They've been with your
Right. Right.
friend
Right.
for
Right.
10 years.
Exactly.
It's about
That's
how she
true.
makes him feel.
That's so true.
So Kenyatta recognized, okay, this is how she makes me feel.
Right.
But this is where it turns because
Yeah.
now he is locked in. He is locked in. He is loaded. I love you at the restaurant in Columbia, South Carolina. He knew
Right.
that you were his sugar booger. But now
Sugar
you've
booger.
got to tell your secrets. You've got to tell how you feel.
Yes, I
And
had to.
so you said for a brief moment, oh, one moment. After you're telling him how you feel, you said a brief moment. He told me he thought to himself, here I go, choosing another unstable woman to fall in love with.
Right. And that was, and I told him
Mm-hmm.
again because I felt I didn't want to go so far
Yeah,
because we were already going far, and I was like, this is not about to happen. Because as soon as he hears this part of my life, he's gonna hightail it and run
yeah,
anyway. Let me get this all the way out, right, before it gets way too deep. So
right.
then, yeah, I tell him, and he left the room. He says it, and it's he just like you said. I got another unstable chick that I'm dealing with,
Mm-hmm.
and he leaves like he's walking out, and I was, and in my head I was like, and there he goes. Like
Yeah.
I was like, all right, so I'm
But you stopped him and he stopped.
well, when I walked, when I got outside, he was sitting on the steps. Like he stopped first. Like I went out. It took a minute for me to sort of kind of walked out, but when I did, he was sitting on the step crying, and I
And
was
for the
like,
people in the back, this is the part that gets me. He felt bad. He felt so bad he cried for me.
mm-hmm,
He grieved for me. His reaction was not anger, but grief. In this moment, this man was able to do something for you that up to this point you hadn't even done for yourself.
exactly, and and
This
and
is why he's the man that leads you.
this is why he's the man that leads me. And then even to go with what you just said, what Journey says, you wanted to give him an out. Was
Right.
this my way of giving myself an out? Yes,
Yeah.
that too. um
Justifying the expectation. You
exactly.
expected him to leave. So let me let him tell him, go ahead and go. Let me tell
Right.
him so he can go ahead.
Right.
And that way I'll know I was right.
That part, and then giving myself the out, because now I don't have to deal with it. I can go back to sulking, having my own pity party again, knowing going the cycle of what this is how men are, and for me, that's how men was going to always be. But
Right.
even in that statement, even in telling him, and like you said, he literally grieved for me. I've
Which,
never
yeah,
had anybody grieve for me.
yeah.
He told me, like, of course we have different conversations about this. Kenyatta is the man for sure, right, BJ? He's the man for sure. And it's, I go back to telling people, that wasn't my pick, that was my fling, that was my friend with benefit type thing. I would not have picked him ever. But God chose him, and I'm gonna say it even in this moment. God chose him for me. Like God
Right.
knew he was supposed to be for me. But he grieved for me. And he told me, he warred within himself, should I stay? Should I go? Should I stay? Should I go? Do
Right.
do, do I need to fight with her with this?
Right.
Notice I said fight with her,
Because it's heavy.
because it's heavy.
Yeah.
He knew what he was putting himself into, and so he chose to stay. I am so grateful to God
Hmm.
that Kenny chose to stay.
Right. Because he
All
could have
these
kept walking and not sit on the steps. You could have kept
That
walking.
part, that part. And like I said, I paused because when he was leaving, I was like, well, there you go. And I was like, like, an- I was about to say the word, another dude. I was like, here go another dude, right? And so it was when I walked out and he was sitting there, I was like, well, what in the world? I was almost like, well, why here? Because again, this is so unusual. So,
Right,
um, but thanking God that he's here and thanking God that he's for me because we have several mutual friends and they that are males and
right.
they eventually heard the story by way of reading the book or whatever the case may be, and they go, he the man. I wouldn't have done what he did. I wouldn't
Not
have
a lot
stayed.
of men would have.
I like every male friend that we know this story was like, I wouldn't have done that.
Yeah,
And they've
yeah.
been like, and I'm like, are you serious? Like you would nope. Like, and they were just flat out, nope. It takes a real G to do what he's
It's
doing.
complicated.
It's
It's
complicated. The
complicated.
stuff that you have to deal with is the stuff that he had to deal with helping me heal. Who
Let's
child?
talk a little bit about that.
Okay, what you want
Teach
to
fit.
know?
Little teach fit. Um, you talk about the moments of flashback
Mm,
to the
yeah.
assault
Mm-hmm.
during the intimate times with your then boyfriend
Yeah.
and how he had to love you through those moments.
Yeah. How he had to love me through the moments at the same time, not know how to love me through the moments.
Right. Because
Because
he
when
hasn't been here before, he doesn't have the tools.
he doesn't have the tools, he hadn't been there before. He didn't know if he could touch me or not. He didn't know how, like all of those things. Like, what am I supposed to do? Am I gonna get knocked out for touching her? Because there were times that I fought back. Like
Right.
it was like just literally haul off fighting. This interesting. I fought him, but I didn't fight the people. Woo! That's a whole
That's a
different
whole
thing
different
right there.
dynamic.
That's a
That's
whole
a whole
different
different
dynamic.
dynamic.
But I would fight back. And guess what? In that I'm gonna make this statement. At that point, I started healing. I was healing myself because now I'm protected. Journey, when did I start protecting myself? Right here. Because
But can I
now
offer this?
offer.
Kenny offered you a safe place to fight.
There you go.
You didn't have a safe place with the assailants, but you
Exactly.
knew that Kenny loved you and he was at least willing to endure some of this with you. It was a safe enough
Right.
place to fight.
Right.
That's what he offered.
And that's what he offered. And there were times in the fight. This is too at this point too later on in marriage because guess what? I dealt with it in marriage as well. So
Hmm.
it was before marriage and afterwards in these positions to where it's like, hold up, wait a minute. It was so funny because there were a couple of times that he knew I was fighting. Like I would be sleep because sometimes I was warring in my sleep, or
Right.
I would go back and dream, or I'm reliving incidents, and he get beat up. And after a couple of days or weeks go by, he's like, "That's gonna be the last time now you bust me in my nose like that, or that'll be the last time." Like he was like that. Like he was always there. I know what you were going through, and when I tell you, you know, I still yet don't even know how he felt to have to watch me, even because I knew it was um hurt. He was hurt, the pain and stuff that he was going through. There were sometimes I caught him in tears in the midst of it because he couldn't touch me. He couldn't hold me. He wanted to. And he's like, how am I going to hold? Like he didn't want to put me in positions. You know what I mean? So it was bad. But here's the more major part of this whole thing for me when I started healing and I came to the realization, for one, is that one of the um well, the first person, the first assailant, the guy, um looked like Kenny.
I
So
was going to ask, have you and Kenny ever really discussed that when that was your revelation? Because it took you some time to get to the point of
it
that's why you were reacting to Kenny the way that you were reacting to him.
and it took me a minute to get there. I didn't even
Right.
realize it. Like I didn't know why I would react so strongly to him. And when I say look like, not facial, like his
Right.
face didn't look, but
Body
the build, the
structure.
body structure,
Yeah.
all of that. And it took me a minute to go, oh, wait a minute. This you. Like, you know what I mean? And so I didn't know how I was gonna say that to him. So it took me a minute to
Yeah.
say, hey babe, we gotta talk. This is what I gotta say. And
Hmm.
then he's looking like,
Yeah.
wait, what? You know, and I'm like, I get it. Like now I know why it's so heavy here. And even so with, because that's with tied in with the first incident, right?
Right.
That one you gotta read the book. That's tied into that so heavily. So now I put that piece together and I'm like, oh, snap. And then
Right.
now he's like, oh, snap. How do we do this? That was
Right.
a whole nother session in itself. Cause now I'm looking at somebody that reminded me of the person that assaulted me.
Right.
God, why you did that? Why?
Mm.
Overcoming victories.
Yeah.
Overcoming. And I literally believe that, like somebody asked me on a call that I did a couple of weeks ago, if I had to do all of this over again, because we were discussing the book like how we're doing tonight. If I
Right.
had to do this over again, would there be things that I wouldn't do? Like, would I say, oh, I wouldn't go back and so I was like, we was on a Zoom call and I was like, first of all, who wants to be raped? Dude, like, what kind of question is
Yeah.
that? I understood his point though. So I said, and I'm honest in this answer, absolutely not, but yes, because it made me stronger. It made me the person that I am today. So yes, would I want to have to go through those things? No. Lord, can you show it to me a different way? Can you make me stronger, quote unquote, in that area in a different way? I don't know how you could do that. But
Right.
could that have been a part of that to where he could do it differently? No. But this part for me is what I'm doing now, me being able to talk about it, me being able to testify about it, to be able to share it. I am helping other people. And as I say a lot of times when I get on these podcasts and stuff, one person, one I just need to help one person.
Right.
That's my goal. It's not about a platform. It's not about trying to tell my business. One
Absolutely.
person, if I can assist one person in their journey, then that's what the goal is. And believe it or not, every time I'm doing this, I get a call,
Absolutely.
I get a message in the inbox. I was at my aunt's funeral this week, last week, not this week, but last week. I was at the funeral and I'm talking to a couple of family members at the funeral that read the book. And I'm looking at them like, say, what now? Of course, the funeral was over. People, we weren't disrespectful during the
Right.
funeral because I did say, we were at the graveside and they were, putting my body down and everything, and people were literally at this point they were just gathering around talking. The funeral was
Talking.
over,
Yeah.
and they started talking to me, and they started talking about the book and saying what they encountered that I encountered in the
Yeah.
book. And I'm like, wow, it's helping somebody.
Yeah.
You know, that's the goal. And so, would I go through this again? Oh, God, I don't want to. But if I had to, is it necessary? If it's necessary, yeah,
I
I'll do it.
I preached a sermon many moons ago entitled "It's Necessary," and it tells the story of, oh gosh, I'm losing my Bible character right now. Who had the multicolored coat?
Joseph.
Thank you. I was like, Jacob. No, that's not it. Joseph. Joseph had to get sold by his brothers. He had to get bought. He had to go to Potiphar's house. The wife had to lie. He had to go to jail so he could meet the candlestick maker, the baker, and everybody else that was in jail.
Hey, I'm
The,
about to say the candlestick maker. The butler and the baker, but oh,
Yes,
okay, go ahead. The butler.
you with me. But he had to meet all of them because when it was time for the dream to be interpreted, that's where he was. He was in the right place at the right time, and he would not have gotten there.
Had he
And
not
because
gone
he was
through.
there, he was then able to get into a place where he was set high to where when the famine came, he saved all of his family.
Right. And it's so funny that
It was necessary.
you talk about that. And I'm saying hilariously funny. It's bad to say it that way, but when I am oftentimes ministered to, the first person that comes up from the person that's ministering to me is to tell me I'm Joseph. Like, you're Joseph. They don't know anything about me,
Right.
but they say to me, "You're Joseph, and this is where you are. Your family rejects you. Your family does this to you." Like, and I'm sitting there going, "Well, I'll be a monkey's uncle."
Okay.
Like, you don't know me, but they're saying these things, and guess what? Some of this stuff that's been said to me in this aspect with this have even been before I wrote the book. So
Right.
this ain't like, oh, they read the book and they know. No, this is pre-book, right? And they're
Right.
telling me these things and they're saying this is what your task is. This is what you're gonna do. You've been set up for a purpose. You're gonna bless your family. You're gonna do
Right.
this and blah 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 and blah blah blah. And I'm like, because I just cry sometimes. I'm strong or whatever.
Now,
But
Journey has a question.
what do you say?
Journey says, when you realize the connection between Uncle Yacht and the guy, did you regret,
Oh yeah.
because she can't think of a better word, your attraction to Uncle Yacht?
Um, no. I don't regret the attraction. Um, I don't regret the attraction because I mean I'm a female. Um, they're like a male, and so the physical attraction, what I saw on Kenny in Kenny now, even he a little fatter now. Don't tell him I said that. I know he on here. Um, but that physique, I mean, the boy ran track, muscular calves were like this, like he was just like yeah. Tell that girl to use my real Uncle Yacht. She said, "Tell him to use my real name while they're in public." Oh God. Anyway,
It's too
um,
late now. It's too
it's
late.
too late, Kenny. It's too late. But looking at him like now, and or when I was attracted to him, I was attracted to him. I was attracted to his physique. I didn't even realize, again, until years later that
Right.
there was a connection. So, but do I regret it now? I'm like, oh my gosh, they look the same. No, I don't, because they're still two separate people, two separate thought processes. Um,
Right.
I love Kenyatta Hodges.
Right.
I detest this gopher. All right. So I can separate that. I know
Yes.
how to separate that. So no, no, I don't. I mean,
It's like
thank
having
God
two
that it
pairs
was a
of black
physical attraction.
shoes. You get a pair of black shoes from Payless, and you got a pair of Christian Louboutins. Kenyatta's Louboutins.
Yeah, yes,
He's a pair of red bottoms.
he's a red bottom.
He's a red bottom.
And
So,
yeah, and like I said, I was attracted to him.
right.
And even so, now, and let me say this, physically, I was attracted to him physically when I first looked, but when Kenny smiled, when he was flipping, I don't know, it was something about that cheesy grin he had on his dad dread face, because I was like, oh, and his teeth pretty. All
The
right then. So,
sunshine, the birds sing, the angels
you
sing
know,
down playing the harp.
right. So yeah, it's no, I did not have any regrets there.
Okay, and we are going to wrap up with the overcoming. But before we go, I want to end with this verse in The Man Who Leads Me. And this verse makes me happy. I'm reading
When
it for me, I'm not reading it for anybody else.
oh, okay.
It says, now imagine a man recognizing that you simply needed to be loved because love can conquer all. And he stays and he loves you back to life. That is what Kenyatta, that man who leads me, did for me. He loved me back to life. My favorite, 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 favorite part of that book. or that chapter.
And he didn't.
Um, Again, I offer to those that have been broken and bruised and battered. There is someone out there that God has assigned to you to love
Mhm.
you back to life, but you must be
Mhm.
willing to do the work.
Absolutely.
You've got to be willing to do the work. And even if you can't get to the healing portion of it, can you at least admit to yourself that you're broken?
That part.
Because you
Be-
can't overcome, which is the chapter that we're going to get into. You can't overcome, and again, you can't heal what you don't confront. And and we as women, we love to give God this list of what we want men to be.
Kiki,
God, I want him to
Kiki.
be this. God, I want him to be fine. I want him to be tall. I want him to be financially secure. I want him to have his own stuff. And you want God to give you this wonderful man with all of these things because God loves you so much that he wants to give that to you. Think about it. God loves him too. God doesn't want to give him a mess and give you greatness.
Say that again.
Uh,
Okay.
you've got to want to heal too so that you can be the best version of yourself for the man that God has for you.
Right.
It's not about being perfect, but it is about being whole.
Right.
And in order
Absolutely.
for you to be the best version of yourself, so that when this man comes, you'll accept the love that he's able to give you, is to start the healing process. But you have to admit that you're broken.
That's it.
So now we are going to go ahead and try to take this thing on to the house. We're
Yeah,
going to
we
take
gonna
this
take
thing
it.
on home. We're going to talk about overcoming from pain to purpose. And I don't. Did I outline anything? If I did, it was this one thing.
This one thing.
I learned in order to be fully restored, I couldn't stop at the trauma. That's what a lot of us do. We stop at the trauma without dealing with it. I've learned to acknowledge it, overcome it, and be redeemed from it. It wasn't easy, but again, it was necessary. I could not afford to stop at the trauma. I needed to accept and answer the calling in order to break generational curses for my offspring, my lineage to be blessed. I learned that my family hid so many dark secrets that were detrimental to the lives of so many. I
Mhm.
believe that if these secrets were confronted head on, the lives of several of my family members would be so much better and they would be free. Let's go home. Let's talk about it. How do we overcome? How do we
Listen,
overcome?
listen. And it's funny. Because the next parts in that process or
Mm-hmm.
after that, because I'm a natural fixer and all of this and I'm wanting to do everything, in the book, and I'm gonna read this part because I think this is where my overcoming began,
Okay.
on page 79,
Okay.
um
I'm there.
where it says that first full paragraph: at the lowest point in my life, I decided I needed to be free. I tried turning to others, but I quickly realized there was no others to turn to. I couldn't confide in members of my family, the church, or anyone. My husband was there, but I felt he was already dealing with so much of my mess that I didn't want to burden him more than he already had. So who do I turn to? Who could I trust? I was praying during these times. I felt that God didn't even hear me. So as I sat on my sofa, right, while home alone, I heard God speak to me. Softly, he asked, "Do you trust me?" I began to cry because I trusted him because I be, I began to cry because I trusted him, but I was afraid. And it was as he was waiting on me to say that part, and he said to say I'm scared, and I said I'm scared. He said, "I know you're afraid, but you are not alone because I will be with you. Just say yes." That was it. Nothing more. Just like that, he was gone. God laid out the deal in its simplest form. It was my charge to accept it or not. Literally, that's when the overcoming process began. I had to then say yes. Did I go to counseling? Yes. Did I seek the help that I needed? Again, I tried going to others. It was nowhere in and out. I was praying, and it was like I was praying, and I was like, okay, God, I'm talking to you. Where you at? Like, what taking you so long to answer me? This is just way too much. Like, again, from the last time we was on, me, Reggie, and Journey, I tried to out myself. I tried to commit suicide. So we talked about that. I was done. I was like, dude, to God, right? I wasn't, God, you know you're not a dude. You know what I'm saying. But that's where I was. In my place, I was like, come on, dude. Like, I need some help. I need you to do this for me. And he literally was like, all you gotta do is say yes. Don't be afraid. I got this. You just gotta say yes. You just gotta open up and let me heal you. You went through the motions,
Yeah.
right? You know, and later on, because I said that's all he said in that moment. It was like, done, stop. Say yes. I got you. I'm out. And he
Right.
looked like he walked away. And I was like, wait, bro, I got something else to ask you.
I
He
got
said nothing.
questions.
I got questions. So how does process look? He didn't say anything else. He walked away. He walked away and left me there just sobbing. And it was like, all I got to do is say yes. So the process begins. And I'm thinking, and I'm going down, praying more. And I'm like, okay, God, but how do I say yes correctly? How do I he just say it? When something comes up, when I say do da 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 da, ha ha, I did good. I did good. Just say it. Say yes. And so I started doing it. Okay, God, yes. Whew. Okay, God, yes. And at that moment, he started to unveil to me that as long as I was committed to trust him, to say yes, I go back to the footprints in the sand, that story of the footprints in the sand.
Right.
You got two sets. You walking with the Lord, y'all having a peachy keen and hunky dory time. All of a sudden, you see one set when things start getting hard. And you know what? Y'all funny. And you
She
walk
petty.
in, very petty. You walk in, and you like, you left me by myself. What you doing? Now you asking why you did this. Where you at? I need your answer. Da 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 da. Da. I need somebody to help me. He goes, dude, I've been carrying you the whole time. You ain't by yourself. I'm carrying you because this burden is a bit hard. You can bear it with my help.
Right.
So let me help you. And so I had to learn, because I always fix everything, just let God do it. That's when I started to overcome that. And it was little bit by bit. It wasn't a major, I'm still overcoming. Let me put that in there. I am still overcoming. It's a challenge. It's a daily challenge. Not too long ago, we were talking about something, and I got home and I told Kenny, I said, I need counseling. And he was like, well, why? Why? Cause I need it, Joker. Like, I need it. And it wasn't the fact that he was saying the why in the negative sense. It was like, all right. He was like, well, let's go. I'm like, no, no, no. I gotta do this by myself. Like, but my point is, it was day by day, minute by minute, hour by hour. I started just saying yes, just going through it. The process started to happen. I figured if the Lord loved me, then as long as he loved me, that's all that matters. Nobody else mattered. I can just deal with it. It just be between me and God. And then once I realized it, I remember denying the existence of, and I started letting my scars heal. So, letting my wounds heal. My scars still showed. My scars became my testimony, hence where we are right now. And so, even in this process, with my scars being my testimony, even in this light, even with everything that we're going on now, the overcoming process, like I said, is still going on, because when you see the scar, then I get
Mm-hmm.
to talk about it, and healing and still yet going on
Right.
in the talks. So you have to be able to let God do the thing, rely on him. Um, it got to the point, um, that when, as I started relying more on God, I opened up more
Right.
than the overcoming piece of now opening up more to family, opening up. Well, I was about to say opening up to husband. I was way open to him, like, just, but it's still, there were still challenging things that I felt that only God could do it. Only God
Right.
can do it. Oh, that's a song. I'm sorry. It just popped in my head when I said it. But only he could do it. So I had to go straight through him. Like, forget forget my husband, forget my kids. It was me and God, and I had to dive straight into it. When I started healing in that aspect, then everything else started opening up. Then I
Right.
was able to say, "Hey, mom, remember that time? Hey, dad, remember that time?" I started to be able to open up and to say and heal well. Because, during
Right.
some of those times of possibly trying to say something, because the pain, the wound was still there,
Right.
instead of it being a scar that could be shown, that we could talk about what happened with the scar, the wound, it still had a, if you know how you have a scab and it ain't fully
Yeah.
healed, but it looked like it, and you can start picking it, and
And
it'll
then it'll
start
start to
come
bleed anyway.
right. It'll start, like, all of it will start to come off real good, but there's that one spot that's still a sore. And
Right.
when you pull it off, there go that look, a little bit of blood, but it's blood. So you're not
Right.
fully healed. And so
Well,
there were
here's the
times.
thing.
Hmm.
I'm sorry. Here's the thing, in my opinion, the difference between the wound and the scar. Because people think that once I get healed, I'm not going to be affected by this. No, you have the wound or you have the scar. You're still going to be affected by it, but you no longer have the wound, which means you're not going to be infected. So
That's it.
affected, but you're not infected by it anymore. It's not going to take over your life. Yes, it's something that happened, but you're in a position to deal with it now.
Right. And
You can have the
because
conversation and it doesn't send you to the corner,
right.
rocking back and forth for
Exactly.
hours.
Exactly. And that's where the healing takes place.
Hmm.
So a lot of times what we have to learn to do to overcome is stop picking at wounds that are not completely healed.
Yeah,
Sometimes we got to learn just to not say anything. I got to that point. That was another part of overcoming. I got to the point where I realized there were things I could not say to my family, to my husband, to anybody, like, but the
right.
things that I needed to discuss and address, I couldn't say them because that scab wasn't fully healed, that wound wasn't
Yeah,
fully healed, and if I pull on the scab too much, then I was going to bleed. So I had a lot of I had a lot of hanging scabs. It
right.
was just attached to that one, and I had to wait till that scab decided it needed to fall off on its own. So any of the hanging scabs, God was there the whole time. Like, I had to keep him. I'm gonna keep you on that hanging scab because I ain't
Right.
ready. Because we're not ready. Situation is not conducive for the conversation. Things of that nature. So I had to learn stop picking. And because sometimes when we start, then
It
instead
gets
of it
worse.
gets worse. That scab come off. You got that little spot right there, and that then all of a sudden infection can sit in. So you start making it worse. Okay, I'm done. I'm done.
No, you're good. Because what we want people to take away in this moment, because we've discussed a few things, we talked about traumatic events and how they sometimes carve out the course of our lives,
Hmm.
be it voluntarily or involuntarily. Sometimes we walk down this road not because we want to walk down it, because it's just the road that we were placed on. So we walk out this journey on the road that we're placed on, but then we learn after healing
Mm,
that you can take a different path. Your journey is still your journey,
right.
but you don't have to stay on the road that you're on. But you do have to be willing to put one foot in front of the other and take the chances on the other path. Yes, 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 you can have Jesus and the therapist.
And yeah, and you need Jesus in well, you need Jesus. This is
You need
check mark.
Jesus.
You need Jesus. But therapy is always important and always good, and you can have Jesus in the therapist
Yeah,
and definitely become whole again,
right, right.
and to be restored. And so that's the journey in itself. That's the reason for wanting to have shame is not the plane, having the purpose of overcoming. And I thank God for overcoming
Hmm.
um the pain of life experiences, because that's what they are. They're life experiences, and once you overcome those life experiences, then it pushes you to
It
purpose.
does. It does.
I'm here in this moment because of the pain of life experiences, but because I overcame, because I was willing to overcome. I was willing. to be victorious. I was willing to say
Right.
I have issues that needs to be dealt with so that the process can happen. I'm here. So
And
that's
I
good.
leave you with the quote that I started with. Trauma is the gateway drug that they didn't warn you about. You're not a hoe. You're not an alcoholic. You're not a crackhead. You're just traumatized. And for those of you that may have those exhibitions of trauma, because that's what it is, trauma just exhibits itself in
Right.
different ways with different people. So,
Hmm.
for those of you that have those exhibitions, our prayer is that you get the help that you need so that you can be whole. You'll
Right.
never get to the point of where the trauma didn't exist. That's not going to happen. That's not your story. The trauma existed, but you can get back to wholeness even after trauma. You can go from being a victim to being the victor.
Exactly. Exactly.
And
That's good stuff.
that's all I got for the people.
That's good. Lastly on what I want to share. And I'm going to say lastly before I do that, I want to make sure that that I make this statement. You all already know how you can give and be a blessing to the brand. If you'd like, you can do it via Cash App. You can do it through the PayPal. If you'd like, Cash App, Danielle Lee the brand. You can also go to the Linktree site and you can follow all of the platforms there, which would be YouTube, Facebook, both of the pages, personal page and or the business page. You can go to Twitter, you can go to Instagram, you can go to TikTok. I got a TikTok. TikTok. You can do that. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Please do so. Subscribe to the YouTube channel because a lot of this information will be housed there as well. And yeah, again, follow, love, share this video. Shawn, thank you so very much for facilitating this, for being here for me this month. I really, really, really do appreciate you for that. And in closing, I am going to read something to you, which is a part of the book. Remember to get your copy of the book via the website. And once I'm done with this, thank you for holding them up, the book, and there's some other merch on there as well. Once I'm done with this that I'm about to read, you can be on your way. That sounds sort of kind of bad, ain't it? But but thank you so much for staying with us this entire time because it's been wonderful. But we'll be, as we say, dismissed, if you will, once I read
Yes.
this. And so this is what it says: healing is for everyone, but not everyone is ready to heal. One knows when they are ready, when they are truly sick and tired of being sick and tired. Shame can no longer be the blame for you not conquering your future and pursuing your purpose relentlessly. You may have done a bad thing. Bad things may have happened to you, but you are not a bad person. The only way to truly heal is by changing you. When you change, your world will change with you. You are beautiful. You are wonderful. You are amazing. You are courageous. You are worthy. You are uniquely you. You are called. You are enough. The world is waiting on you. The world needs you. Until next time, Danielle speaks.